The betrayal of the enslaved Africans by Jamaica's Maroons is one of those stories where if I hadn't read the details myself and combed through the treaty that they signed with the British, I would have thought that it was just folklore passed down through the years. But in fact, the treaty signed in 1939 by Captain Kojo of the Leeward Maroons required them to not only return any runaway slaves to their masters or owners, but to join in the defense of the island against any foreign invaders or any rebel uprising. The Windward Maroons, led by Nanny and Captain Quo, made a similar agreement to return any runaway slaves and to defend the island against any foreign invaders, and to be ready under the command of the governor or his appointed to suppress and destroy any party or parties of rebellious Negroes. Now, in 1865, we had had emancipation for about 30 years, but there was still general discontent among the formerly enslaved. They scarcely had jobs or the economic means to sustain themselves, and the political and economic power was contained within the white minority. They also used various laws to enact justice quite unfairly on the majority black population. And so it was that Paul Bogle, a Baptist deacon, and about 400 citizens descended upon the Morant Bay courthouse as two of their own were being tried. A riot ensued, the Morant Bay courthouse was set on fire, and a few of the white members of the judiciary were killed. In the aftermath, the governor declared martial law, and they rounded up many of the people who they felt were responsible for this uprising, including Paul Bogle, and he was hanged. George William Gordon, our national hero, was a member of the assembly at that time. Gordon himself was a mulatto, he was mixed. So they felt that because of his sympathies towards the black population, he supported the uprising and he was hanged. And now here's the part of the Morant Bay Rebellion that we, or at least I, were not taught about. According to the historians, they could not have suppressed this uprising without the manpower and the assistance of the Maroon community. According to one source, up to 500 Maroons were directly involved in the suppression of the rebellion under the command of one A.G. Fife. And Governor Eyre would later tell the House of Assembly that were it not for the fidelity and loyalty of the Maroons, the Negroes would have committed even greater devastation. A Gleaner report from the 28th of October 1865 said, "The notorious Paul was surrounded by the Maroons, and finding escape impossible, he came to the open high road. A body of Maroons leveled their rifles at him, and he surrendered himself their prisoner. His brother Moses Bogle was captured also at Spring Garden, but in the endeavor to take him, he was cut up, having fought desperately." I must have been living under a rock because I did not know that the Maroons had captured Paul Bogle. But wait, the story not done yet. The Gleaner of November 10th, 1865 announced a reception and parade to thank the Maroons for their service. On November 11th, the Gleaner announced that the following Monday would be a public holiday to honor the Maroons and that merchants and shopkeepers would close their businesses that day. The notice said, "Everyone should unite in giving them, our faithful allies, a hearty reception in our principal city. We owe the Maroons much for their loyalty and faith, and a sincere welcome will be a poor share toward the payment of the debt of gratitude we owe them." On Monday, November 13, 1865, around 250 Maroons descended on the capital city of Kingston for an official reception and parade. They were fully armed and dressed in their camouflage battle outfit and met at Rockfort by a guard of honor and commenced their public entry into the city. The procession moved to the music of the Kingston Volunteer Artillery Drum Corps, the bands of the Engineer Company, and the 17th Regiment, which had in its ranks many of Kingston's leading merchants. The Maroons were met at the Kingston Courthouse by a guard of honor of around 100 soldiers and were welcomed by Governor Eyre and a group of high-ranking army officers. They were congratulated for crushing out a most atrocious and bloodthirsty rebellion, and promised that the Queen of England would write to thank them for their loyalty and devotion. They sat down to a sumptuous meal, and the Gleaner reported that some of them were heard expressing their loyalty to their sovereign and faithfulness to the white and colored classes of their beautiful land. Now, I'm sure that at that time, the Maroons thought that they were doing the right thing. And surprisingly, they were not the only ones among the black population who openly expressed loyalty to the white minority. Also were furious at any black-led rebellion or uprising or any kind of open opposition to the white ruling class. In fact, many of them believed that post-emancipation, they needed the blessings of the white ruling class in order for any kind of economic success to come upon the black majority. So while Paul Bogle and company may have felt justified in trying to fight for some semblance of justice and fair treatment for the black population, he didn't necessarily have the support of the majority. One of the reasons why the Maroons were able to step in and take command of the uprising was because there was so much disunity among the black population.